battlefield was quiet now. Fires still burned in the distance. Smoke covered the red sky. Bodies lay everywhere, alien and human. Magnetic Lyra, of the Thallarine race, walked slowly through the ruins. Her green skin was covered in ash. Her scanner beeped softly in her hand as she searched for survivors. "Sector clear," came a voice in her ear. "Moving to the next zone?" she replied calmly. The Thallarine were not at war. They were neutral. Their job was to provide aid to wounded soldiers, except humans. That was the rule. The humans had been marked dangerous, violent, too emotional. If you saw one alive, you walked away. But then Lyra heard a cough. She turned, behind a pile of metal. Broken armor and smoke. She saw movement. She stepped closer, slowly. There, lying in blood and dust, was a human soldier. He looked young, maybe in his 20s. His face was pale, eyes barely open. His armor was cracked open across the chest, and blood ran down his side. Their eyes met. He whispered, "Help. Me." Lyra's hand shook. Her orders were clear. "Do not assist humans. Leave them." Something in his voice. It wasn't anger or threat. It was pain. It was hope. She looked around. No cameras. No drones. No other medics. She knelt beside him. "Can you hear me?" He blinked once. "Yeah," hurts. Lyra pulled out her kit. She pressed a healing patch to his chest. She injected him with a stabilizer. "Why are you helping me?" he whispered. She didn't answer. Instead, she tapped her comms. "Central. Moving to next zone. No survivors here." She cut the signal. Then she lifted the human onto her hoverboard and covered him with a thermal blanket. "Stay quiet," she said softly, "or we both die." Back on her small medical ship, Lyra worked fast. The human's vitals were dropping.
Oh, yeah.
Machines hummed to life. His name was stitched on his armor. "Ray," he groaned. Where am I?" "You're on a Thallarine medical ship," Lyra said. He blinked. "Aren't you supposed to leave us to die?" She looked away. "Yes." Ray smiled weakly. "So you're breaking the rules." Lyra gave a short nod. "You should rest." He studied her. "Thank you." Lyra had heard those words before, but not from a human. Never from a human. Over the next 3 days, Ray recovered. He was curious. He asked about Thallarine culture, about her family, about her work. He laughed at her serious tone, and once he even made her laugh, something she hadn't done in years. She told him stories of her planet. He told her stories of Earth, how humans danced in the rain, how they fought for each other, how they cried and loved and never gave up. "You all think we're monsters," he said one night, "but we bleed like anyone else." Lyra looked at his bandaged chest. "Yes, you do." On the 5th day, Lyra made a decision. She flew her ship near human border space, close enough for an emergency pod drop, not close enough to be caught. Ray stood near the airlock, holding a small case she packed with food, maps, and a datapad. "Will I see you again?" he asked. Lyra shook her head. "No, this never happened." He nodded slowly. "Still, thank you, Lyra." She stared at him, then said something no Thallarine had said to a human before. "You're welcome, Ray." The airlock opened. Pod launched. Ray disappeared into the stars. Lyra returned to her route. She told no one. She erased the logs, but something had changed inside her. She had seen a side of humans no textbook had shown her. Not war. Not chaos, but kindness, pain, hope. And she had given kindness in return. She thought it was over. She was wrong. Far away, deep in human territory, a pod crashed safely. A human soldier stepped out and looked up at the stars, and he made a promise. "One day, I'll repay her." Lyra stood in front of the grand hall. The cold marble floor reflected the blue light of the tall ceiling. Her hands were behind her back. Her heart beat faster than usual. The Thallarine High Council sat in silence above her. 12 powerful leaders, dressed in long dark robes, eyes glowing with judgment. Medic Lyra, said the center elder. His voice echoed across the chamber. Do you know why you are here? Lyra raised her head slowly. Yes, counselor, then speak. What crime have you committed? She didn't answer right away. On a screen beside them, a video played blurry. At first, then clear. It showed her ship, her secret logs, her scanner, finally him. Ray, the human, alive. In her ship, one counselor gasped. Another whispered impossible. You helped a human, the lead elder said. You gave him food, shelter, medical care. You lied to us. Lyra stayed calm. He was dying. He was a human, another snapped. Our law is clear. No aid to humans, no contact, no risk. But he wasn't a monster, Lyra said softly. He was just a man. Murmurs filled the hall. Shock, disgust, confusion. You betrayed your race? A counselor hissed. Endangered our future. I followed my heart, she replied. The elder stood. Then your heart has no place among us. Later that day, Lyra's badge was taken. Her uniform stripped away, her name erased from the military records. No goodbye, no honor. She was placed on a cold ship, a one-way journey to a mining colony on a dead moon. No sun, no green, no peace. Just rock. In silence, years passed. Lyra worked in silence, digging or her hands rough. Her body thinner, but her eyes still sharp. Others avoided her. No one spoke much. Some whispered behind her back. Traitor. She didn't respond. She just remembered a face. Human, smiling, grateful. And, in some quiet part of her heart, she believed she had done the right thing. Far away, on Earth, Admiral Ray stood in front of a large map of the stars. His face was older now, but his eyes were the same, full of fire. He pointed to a small system on the edge of the map. Here, he said. The Thalarines send old ships to that sector. Medical transports, mining barges, no patrols. A young officer stepped forward. Sir, you believe she's there? Ray nodded. I know she's there. She saved your life, and you want to save hers? Ray smiled. Not just that. He walked to the window of his command center. Outside, a new fleet floated in silence. 10 ships, all dark gray, all unmarked. We owe her more than life, he said. We owe her a promise. Back on the mining. Moon Lyra was sleeping in her small bunk when an alarm echoed. Red lights flashed. Miners rushed outside. The sky above turned black. Massive ships hovered silently. Human ship's breath caught in her throat. What is this? Someone shouted. Then a voice spoke through every speaker on the colony. This is Admiral Ray of the United Human Fleet. We are not here to fight. We are here for her. Lyra stepped forward, slowly. A light from the lead ship shone directly on her, and after all these years, she heard his voice again. Lyra, didn't forget. Admiral Ray stood alone at the edge of the observation deck, staring out into space. Behind him, Earth glowed like a peaceful blue marble. In front of him, a wall of warships. 10 years had passed since that day on the battlefield. What, 10 years? Since a Thalarine medic had saved his life and vanished into exile, most thought she was dead. Ray didn't. And now, as a decorated admiral in the United Human Fleet, he was ready to keep his promise. Status report, he said. Captain Morales stepped beside him. Fleet assembled and ready, sir. 50 ships, silent mode, no broadcast signals. No one knows we're coming? Ray asked. No one, sir? We'll cross neutral space in 2 hours. Ray gave a quiet nod. What he was doing broke every rule in the Galactic Accords. Human ships weren't allowed in Thalarine space without approval. He hadn't asked. He didn't plan to. Across the galaxy, the Thalarine were preparing for a peaceful summit. Their council had no idea a human fleet was moving closer. No idea that the man they once condemned was coming back for the alien they had thrown away. Inside Ray's private quarters, he sat down at his desk and opened an old metal case. Inside was a single photo. It showed a human man, bloody and weak. Smiling faintly beside a green-skinned woman in a medical suit, he still remembered that day in her ship. The quiet hum of the machines, her calm voice, the way she hid him when others would have left him to die. She risked everything, he whispered. For me. He touched a button on his wrist. Come. Activate Project Dawn. Elsewhere in Human Command. Screens lit up, officers stared in shock. Sir, we've lost contact with Admiral Ray's fleet. They've disabled tracking? Yes, completely. Panic spread. A private message was sent to the Galactic Council. The human fleet has gone dark. We believe they've entered neutral space without permission. On a dusty mining moon, Lyra sat alone in the mess hall, chewing on a dry protein bar. Her hands were still calloused, her clothes old, her eyes still sharp. A young worker sat beside her. Hey, you hear the news? He asked. What news? She replied quietly. Some big human fleet vanished from their territory. People think something's about to happen. Lyra looked up. Her heart jumped, but she said nothing. She didn't want to hope. She didn't dare to believe it. 2 hours. Later, human ships exited warp. The fleet hovered silently above the edge of Thallarine space. No weapons powered, no signals sent. But the galaxy noticed. Alien satellites blinked. Merchant vessels panicked. News spread like wildfire. Admiral Ray has entered neutral space. 50 ships. Unannounced. What is he doing? Back in his command ship, Ray stared at a small blinking dot on the map. That's the colony, he said. Should we hail them? Captain Morales asked. Ray shook his head. No, we're not here to ask. We're here to take her home. But if the council resists, Ray looked at her. They won't. Inside the colony, alarms blared. Miners ran outside. Ships filled. The sky, then a calm voice echoed across every speaker. This is Admiral Ray of the United Human Fleet. We are not your enemy. We are here for one person only. Miners looked at each other in confusion. Ray's voice continued. She saved me. And now, I'm here to save her. Lyra froze in place. Her heart pounded. She walked outside slowly, and every spotlight turned to her, far above. Ray watched her on the screen. She looked older, tired, but still strong. Still her, he smiled. Prepare shuttle, he said. I'm going down myself. Captain Morales frowned. Sir, that's risky. Raise. The voice was firm. This isn't a rescue mission. He paused. It's a thank you. The sky above the mining moon turned black. Miners dropped their tools and ran outside. Ships huge, silent, and dark hovered above the dusty surface like shadows in the sky. No weapons fired, no sirens screamed, but everyone felt it. Power and fear. Lyra stood frozen in the middle of the main yard. Her eyes locked on the lead ship. It began to descend slowly, dust swirling as its engines hummed. A single ramp opened, and he stepped out. Admiral Ray. He wore no helmet, just a plain black coat with a silver pin on the chest, the symbol of Earth's high command. He walked forward calmly, his boots pressing into the dirt. Miners whispered around Lyra, Is that a human? He's here for her. He's unarmed. Lyra didn't move, couldn't speak. Her heart felt like it had stopped. Then Ray stopped just a few feet in front of her. I made a promise, he said. She looked at him. You came back? I said I would. Minutes later, a full human medical team arrived. They brought food, clean clothes, medicine, and hover transports. No weapons, no threats. Ray stood before the colony leader, tall, older, Thallarine, with sharp eyes and a nervous voice. This woman, Ray said, pointing to Lyra, saved a human life 10 years ago. She broke the law, the leader replied quickly. She was exiled. Ray's eyes narrowed, and now we're unexiling her. The leader stepped back. You can't do this. This is Thallarine territory. Ray raised one hand. A signal instantly. The sky changed. Every ship lit up, not with weapons, but with banners. Dozens of massive digital flags hung in space. Glowing brightly, Each one said the same message in all major galactic languages. We never forget kindness. The mining workers cheered. Some cried. No one had ever done something like this before. Not for one alien. Not for someone forgotten. Lyra stood beside Ray, overwhelmed. Why bring all of this? She asked softly. All these ships. All this. Trouble. For me. Ray looked her in the eye. You didn't see what you started, he said. You didn't just save a soldier. You showed humanity something we rarely see. Compassion from outside our kind. He turned and looked at the fleet above. They needed to see this too. Hours later, the colony was empty. Every worker who wanted to leave was offered safe passage. Many accepted. A few stayed behind. The buildings were scanned, the records wiped, and the last transport ship rose into the sky. The mining colony that had existed for 20 years vanished without a single shot fired. The Galactic Council watched. Everything in silence. No one dared to interfere. On board the command ship, Lyra sat inside a bright room with windows that looked out over the stars. She was clean, fed, rested. She looked alive again. Ray walked in, 2 cups in his hands. Tea. He offered. She took it quietly. I still don't understand, she said. You humans, you're known for revenge, for war, not this. Ray smiled. That's true, but we also remember, and when we choose to care about something, we go all the way. She nodded slowly. I thought I'd be forgotten forever, she whispered. Ray shook his head. No, not forgotten, just ting. Later that night, news reports echoed across the galaxy. Human fleet appears in Thallarine space, rescues exiled medic. No weapons fired, no casualties.
A message.
Instead, we never forget kindness. Council silent. Thallarine government under pressure. Some alien races grew worried. Others were amazed. But all of them now knew. If you show kindness to a human, they might return it with a fleet. The Galactic Council chamber was filled with noise. Dozens of alien leaders shouted across the round room. Holograms lit the air with breaking news. Human fleet enters Thallarine zone without permission. Admiral Ray breaks all known protocols. Exiled medic, rescued by humans. Why? The High Counselor of the Thallarine stood and raised a hand. His voice echoed through the chamber. We demand answers from Earth, he said. This was a violation, an invasion. For what? One woman. Another alien leader shouted, Are humans trying to send a message? Is this the beginning of a power move? The air thickened with fear. That's when the human envoy walked in. Just one man, tall, calm, dressed in a gray Earth diplomatic suit. He carried no weapon. No guards. He stepped to the center and placed a small case on the table. Then he looked around the room. Earth has no speech to give, he said. Only a reminder. The counselor leaned forward. Then explain your admiral's actions. The envoy paused, then pressed a button. The case opened. A hologram appeared. It showed Lyraweek, bleeding, carrying a human soldier through smoke and fire. The crowd in the chamber watched in silence. Then the image shifted to the human fleet returning for her, giving aid, offering peace. Finally, a sentence appeared in every known language. She mattered. The envoy closed the case. That is, Earth's answer. And then he walked out. On Earth, the mood was quiet, peaceful. People around the world watched the news unfold. Some were confused, others proud, most emotional. They saw how one alien who owed them nothing had saved one of their own, and how their leaders had answered that gift, not with war, but with loyalty. Back on the command ship, Lyra watched the council's reaction on a screen. They're angry, she said. Ray sat beside her. They're scared. Of what? How far we'll go? For something they can't measure. Lyra gave him a confused look. Ray turned to her. They measure power by fleets, territory, control. But we measured you by something else. You didn't save me because of orders or politics. You did it because it was right. He smiled gently, and that's the kind of power they don't understand. A week later, news spread again. Refuses to punish Admiral Ray. No apology issued. No regret shown. Human officials simply said, "We stand by our own." The Thallarine government began to split. Some leaders resigned, others were questioned. Citizens protested outside council halls, asking why one of their own had been abandoned. Lyra's name became known again not as a traitor, but as a symbol. The medic who did what was right. The one the humans returned for. At a quiet park on Earth, a statue was built. It showed a Thallarine woman in a medical uniform. Helping a wounded human, children came to see it. Students read her story in schools across human colonies. Her name became a lesson. Kindness is not weakness. Loyalty is strength. We never forget those who stood by us. In a private moment, Lyra stood at the base of the statue. Flowers surrounded it. She closed her eyes. "I never wanted this," she whispered. Ray stepped beside her. "No one ever wants to be a symbol," he said. "But sometimes, symbols choose you." They stood in silence. Above them, the stars glowed softly. The galaxy had demanded answers, but Earth had responded with something stronger than words. A message written in ships, and loyalty. And now, all across the stars, the same question echoed. In the minds of leaders, soldiers, and civilians alike, if this is how humans repay one small act of kindness, what would they do for something more? The war came without warning. It started in the outer systems. Unknown attackers, ships with no flags, planets burned, colonies vanished. No demands, no communication, just destruction. Dozens of species panicked. No one could stop the enemy. Their weapons were advanced, their tactics brutal. Whole fleets disappeared. The Thallarine were the next target. In just 2 days, 3 of their moons were attacked. Cities crumbled. Defense systems failed. The High Council, once proud and distant, now trembled. And so, they sent a message to Earth to her. On the command bridge of Earth's flagship, USS Kindness, Lyra stood tall in a sleek Navy uniform. A silver Earth pin rested over her heart. The same people who once called her a traitor had sent a desperate message. "Help us, please," Lyra read it twice. Admiral Ray stood behind her. "You don't have to answer," he said quietly. She turned to him. "They left me to rot on a dead moon. I know. They made me invisible, I remember." She looked back at the screen, then whispered, "And now they want me to save them?" Ray waited. Finally, Lyra sighed. "Set course for Thallarine space," she said. Hours later, Earth's fleet dropped out of warp above a burning Thallarine planet. The enemy was already there, circling like wolves. The USS Kindness entered orbit. Its lights brightened the sky like a rising sun. All human ships activated. Shields but didn't fire. Lyra's voice echoed across open comms. "This is Earth Fleet Command. Evacuate civilians immediately. We will cover the sky." Down on the surface, Thallarine citizens looked up in shock. Children pointed. Elders wept. They remembered her face, the one they had banished. And now, she had returned, not with anger, but with protection. The battle began. Enemy ships rushed forward, but they didn't. Expect human tactics, unpredictable, fast, brutal. Lyra's fleet fought hard, but focused only on saving lives, not taking revenge. Medical dropships landed. Human soldiers pulled alien children from rubble. Engineers rebuilt power stations in hours. Everywhere the Thallarine looked, they saw Earth helping. Lyra helping. Back in the Thallarine capital, the new council gathered in silence. Their eyes were fixed on the screen, watching Lyra command fleets, save cities, and fight for them. One counselor finally whispered, "We were wrong about her." Another replied, "We were wrong about them." When the fighting ended, the sky was clear. The enemy had vanished. Lyra stood on the main bridge, tired but strong. A message came in from the Thallarine capital. The current high speaker, young, but nervous, ashamed, appeared on screen. "Commander Lyra," he said softly, "you saved us." Again, she didn't smile. "I didn't do it for you," she said. I did it for the people who didn't choose to leave me behind. There was silence. Then the speaker bowed his head. We offer our thanks. In our request, will you be our guardian? Lyra blinked. You want me to protect the very council that exiled me?
Oh.
He replied. We want you to protect our people, because they trust you more than they trust us. Later, in a quiet room aboard the USS Kindness, Ray sat with Lyra, a cup of tea in his hand. They used to mock you, he said.
How they ask for your help.
Lyra looked out at the stars. I don't know if they deserve it. Maybe not, Ray said, but maybe someone else does. Who? Smiled. The little girl you pulled from rubble today. The miner who cheered when you returned. The doctor who watched you and chose to join Earth. Lyra closed her eyes. They don't know the old me, no, Ray said. They know the true you. Across the galaxy, a message was sent out. The Kindness fleet will remain in orbit above Thallarine space. Earth will provide aid and defense for any species that asks, no matter their history. Enemies became allies. Old critics sent requests. They didn't want to be left behind. They had mocked Lyra once. Now, they feared losing her. The stars were no longer peaceful. Unknown warships had started attacking outer colonies. They moved fast. They destroyed everything. No one knew who they were. No one knew what they wanted. They left no survivors. Planets burned. Moons cracked. Open. Entire populations vanished. The weaker species were the first to fall. And even the proud ones, the ones who once laughed at Earth, who mocked humans, began to panic, and in the heart of the fear was one named Lyra, the alien medic they once exiled, the one they called a traitor. It's the one who now commanded one of Earth's most powerful fleets. And suddenly, the ones who once called her weak wanted her protection. A desperate message arrived. At Earth's fleet command, this is the Kalern Empire. We request immediate aid. Our defense shields have fallen. Civilians are trapped. Please send the Kindness fleet. There was a pause. Then another message came in. This is the Thallarine High Council. We ask Commander Lyra to assist. We regret our past actions. They didn't mention what they did to her. They didn't say sorry. It's just fear in their voices. Desperation. Inside the USS Kindness, Lyra stood on the bridge, watching the stars ahead. She held a datapad in one hand. On the screen were dozens of messages from governments that had once ignored her suffering. Now they begged. Ray walked beside her, his hands behind his back. You don't have to help them, he said. You owe them nothing. Lyra didn't speak. Her mind was filled with memories of cold cells, hard labor, empty days, of silence, isolation, and pain. And now, Commander, her communications officer said, the colony of Kalern 2 has only 4 hours left. Their cities are falling. Civilians still trapped underground. Lyra stared at the dark screen ahead. Set course, she said. Ray looked at her. Are you sure? She nodded. We help people. That's who we are. The fleet jumped. Dozens of ships appeared over the planet. The sky over Kalern, too, lit up with hope. Enemy vessels swarmed, but Earth's ships didn't wait. They dropped rescue teams. Fighters launched. Shields activated. Lyra stood at the front of the command deck, giving orders calmly. Her voice was steady, her eyes focused. The enemies didn't stand a chance. Within 2 hours, over 60,000 civilians were evacuated. Earth medics treated the wounded. Engineers stabilized the planet's power grid. And the last message from Kalern's governor was simple. We mocked her. We were wrong. Thank you. Back at Earth, news of Lyra's rescue spread fast. Headlines lit up. She saves those who left her behind. The traitor they feared became the hero they needed. Earth's Kindness fleet now guards everyone. Galaxy was changing. Not because Earth had demanded it, but because Lyra had earned it. Later that night, Lyra stood alone in her quarters. She looked out the window at the stars. Her reflection showed someone new, not a medic in exile, but a leader, trusted by billions. Ray walked in, carrying 2 cups of tea. You saved them all, he said. I just did what I had to, she replied. He smiled. That's the difference between you and them. She looked down. They still hate me, Ray. Some of them only called because they were scared. True, he said, placing a cup beside her. But their people cheered. The children smiled. The families cried when you arrived. He paused. They don't care about the politics. They care that someone showed up. Later that week, another message arrived. This time, from the oldest enemy of Earth, the Varnak Dominion. They had once sworn to destroy humanity. Now, they sent a message. We request alliance. We request Commander Lyra. Even Ray was surprised. He looked at her. Lyra gave a tired smile. They're not afraid of Earth anymore, she said. They're afraid of what Earth becomes when someone matters to it. Across the stars, more and more species sent requests. Some begged for defense. Others wanted to join the alliance. All of them said the same thing. We saw what you did. For one, now we ask, will you do it for us? And every time Lyra read those messages, she remembered the cold, dusty mining moon, the years of silence, the loneliness, and how one simple act saving a human had brought her to this moment. Woman once left behind, now trusted to protect worlds, a new starship moved slowly through the sky above Earth. Its hull was silver and white. Its name shone brightly across its side. USS Kindness Class. Lyra won it wasn't. Built for war, but it could fight. It wasn't. Built to conquer, but whole systems now stood under its protection, and it all began. With one choice, one moment, one act of kindness. Inside the ship, Commander Lyra stood at the main window, watching the stars pass by. The command bridge was quiet. Peaceful, Admiral Ray walked in beside her, holding a datapad. New requests. He said 2 planets asking for medical aid. 1 frontier world asking to join the Earth Alliance. Lyra gave a small smile. We'll help them all. As always, Ray looked at her. 10 years ago, you were just one medic. Now entire civilizations. Wait for your answer. She looked down for a moment. I never wanted power, she said. I just didn't want him to die. Ray smiled. And because you saved 1 life, we saved millions. The Kindness Fleet now patrolled across dozens of systems. No one forced planets to join Earth, but they came willingly, because they trusted what the fleet stood for. Not control, but compassion. Not invasion, but protection. Not fear, but loyalty. The galaxy had many weapons, but only one fleet that fought in the name of kindness. On the planet Galrose Prime, a massive celebration took place. It had once been attacked by unknown enemies. It now stood rebuilt thanks to Lyra's team. A huge statue was revealed in the city center. It showed a Thalarine medic standing beside a human soldier. A crowd cheered as Earth flags and local banners waved together in the front row. Children from many species stood proudly in kindness, fleet school uniforms, dreaming of the stars. And behind them, watching quietly from the shadows, were once powerful leaders who had once mocked Earth. They didn't speak, they just watched, and understood in a private moment. Lyra visited her old homeworld, the same place that had exiled her now. It welcomed her with open arms. The council hall had changed. New faces sat in the seats. One by one, they stood and bowed their heads. You showed us what we could not see, the speaker said. You were punished for doing what was right, we ask. Will you help us become better? Lyra nodded once. I already have, she replied. Back. Aboard her ship, Lyra sat in the garden dome at the top of the vessel, a peaceful space filled with trees. Earth, flowers, and glowing blue plants from her home planet. Ray joined her, carrying 2 cups of tea. He handed one to her. They sat in silence. For a while, finally Ray said, Do you ever wish you hadn't helped me that day? Lyra looked at the stars. No, she said. That was the moment I chose who I was, not what others told me to be. Ray nodded. Funny, that moment made me who I am too. Both laughed quietly. 2 lives forever changed by one decision, as the fleet continued its journey. Stories of Earth spread across the galaxy, not because of war, not because of power, but because of the promise. Earth had made and kept. If you show kindness to us, we will never forget. And one day, we will return that kindness 1,000 times stronger. The kindness fleet became a symbol not just of Earth, but of hope, and wherever it went, enemies stopped, children smiled. And the stars felt a little safer, not because of weapons, but because of her.